Hello YouTube, this is Ezekiel doing a after action report for combat mission Battle for Normandy. Something a little bit special today. This is a recording that took about a month or so because it's a multiplayer match, play by email, so files transferring back and forth each minute with Lieutenant Bull or Bullman, who is on the Battlefront forums, and we are also testing version 2 of a scenario devised by AAR on a absolutely gorgeous map. I suggest you check it out on the Battlefront forums. It is a historical map. I believe the area is somewhere west of Carentan, don't quote me on that, but the photos and the equivalent shots within the game that just show that is available on the Battlefront forums just shows the level of detail Macals went to creating this. This was awesome map. He went and designed a bit of a fictional scenario on it to try and show off what hedgerow combat could be really like. So I volunteered to test the scenario, and basically he accepted, and I offered also to do one of these videos for him. So I ended up choosing to verse Lieutenant Bull, who I'd recently finished a Fortress Italy multiplayer match with. I think he beat me in that one by a tactical victory, I think it was, so pretty close. And then this one's going to be a little bit different though, because, spoiler alert, but he does beat the living snot out of me. So I've been able to edit the video down to about half an hour or so. This is the only time I'm really showing off my initial movements and orders. After this I would just be showing the action phases. This is the second time Lieutenant Bull and I have been playing the scenario. Both times I've been the Americans and he's been the German defenders. The reason being is the first time I did a concentrated advance up the right flank, thinking I could break into the village that way, and got absolutely butchered in 1 minute of combat. Lost to pretty much an entire company. Big mistake on my part. Got ambushed very well, and sitting we're testing the scenario, I offered to let's start again. So my fortunes increased just a little bit, but not too much. Okay, where to begin? What I've got before me is 2 companies of American rifle infantry, and also a platoon or 5 Stuarts. I've also got some off-map artillery. I think from memory it's some 81mm mortars or something. I think the 60mm mortars are also off map in this scenario. So the mortars are designed to you bring them in whenever you spot the enemy, so to speak. I'm playing this scenario completely blind. There was another after action report, a written one, going up at the same time from the German point of view from another player. Though I've looked at it now, I was purposely keeping blind for this scenario. So all I really know going into this, that my opponent does have some form of artillery, or off-map mortars I think it was, and also at least a platoon of infantry that actually butchered me in the first turn. Sorry, in the first attempt at this. So yeah, I do recommend that if you are thinking of playing the scenario yourself when it is finally released in the final version, stop viewing now, because needless to say there'll be quite a few spoilers. So rather than going up the right flank, which this time I'm going to pretty much ignore, I'm opting to go straight up the centre with one company up the road, and take on the left flank with the second company and some of the Stuarts. The reason for this is the mission itself is a whole bunch of occupy objectives which run the length of the village through the centre of the map. So basically I've not only got to clear them of enemy, but I've also got to keep some of my troops in every objective. And there's about 5 from memory, each with a varying level of victory points associated with it. So it's not going to be an easy task. Apparently I greatly outnumber the enemy, that's all I've been told when I set up, but I must admit I got to the point where it didn't feel like that way, that's for sure. So this terrain and map is, as you can see, is definitely very, very defender friendly. So yeah, I won't spoil how far I got, but you'll see I don't get to see a lot of the map. Time limit shouldn't be a problem. 120 minutes down there, 2 hours, so I've got time to move. But my objective going into this, I just see those hedgerow lines as potential death traps. I want to really get amongst it as quick as possible. Saying that I'm just being a bit more cautious on that extreme left flank. The reason being is I don't want to get into a protracted firefight where his MG42s could slowly whittle me down, or he can bring in artillery support, which I'm guessing he has target reference points somewhere. So my goal is to break into that village as quick as possible. What's going to make that very hard is there's very few gaps in the hedgerows around that village. There we go, 81mm mortars and 60mm mortars off map, so there you go. So the actual places that I can actually break through, the hedgerows are few and far between, which makes doing covering it as a defender a lot easier to guess where I may push through. I do have some, I think I have a platoon or half a platoon of engineers from memory. That will play some part, but very, very few, and don't really get them to use them in the centre, as you'll see.
Requesting fire mission. Over. Roger. Request fire mission.
So I've got these open fields like the wheat field and that there. I can go down the wheat field, but I can't get into the town unless I go to that first adjacent road. So that would have been my first attempt, I think, but I have to go right through the map just to get into the town. So I will do, well, could be the silly thing, send a platoon down the road itself. They will take casualties, that's a guaranteed, but I thought I would use that to get into that little nook, so to speak, in that reddish building onto the left of the screen right now. They can probably set up a base of fire from there, and allowing the rest of my company coming up the centre to get into the village. Once I'm in the village, I've got the buildings to help conceal my movements, and as well as the lower hedgerows and the lower hedges, sorry, so that the defender, my opponent can't actually hide behind the tall hedgerows. So that's the plan going in. I'm also just using these mortars and prep bombardments just to pinpoint possible observation points and initial places that he could be setting up for ambush. Don't want to waste my ammunition just yet, so I'm only doing quick little missions. So that's about it. You can sort of see from those movement lines what I am doing, and we switch straight to the first turn of action. So with the trees turned on, you can see how dense the map is. That probably my biggest concern going into this. It's definitely a ambusher's paradise. Just take this quiet bit to get some shots in the American infantry. And that's my initial mortars coming in. I'm thinking he's got something set up there at the start of those first real buildings and around those hedgerows. So it's a bit of a broad movement. As once again, I'm not trying to concentrate my forces like my first attempt at this mission that ended very badly. So I know I outnumber him, so I'm hoping to hopefully spread his defensive line out a little bit too thin. It's a little bit clumped up on that centre left flank, but they'll spread out soon enough along the hedgerow. So just sending a squad out into the wheat field very, very cautiously. Learned in the first attempt at this that the Germans can actually deploy a long way forward. It's about on the front third of the map from my deployment zone, I think. So yeah, taking it very cautiously there. So still no ambushes. A little bit surprising, especially that squad moving out in the left flank. Who knows, maybe I'm getting a little bit lucky. Expected the first German line of defence on the left flank there to be on that hedgerow overlooking the wheat field. So yeah, a little bit slow and cautious to start off with. They're only moving up the road, those troops. So yeah, the Americans start with everything fully up, full strength, pretty much. Oh, and there we go, the first contact. Not too sure about the Germans. I still actually, even after this mission was finished, I didn't go into the edge. I don't know what the German strength is fully, but the Americans start pretty much full strength and 100% ready to go. So I'm supporting fire, immediately picks up where the fire's coming from and lays on some machine gun fire. Meanwhile, another little scouting party or recon party is picked up in one of the buildings. So in response to that, I move up into a better firing position, and I believe I send out one of the squads. Oh, bazookas, I take a shot. There's not one of the squads in a bit of an assaulting move to get up close and personal. Finish them off at close range. It can't be more than a couple of guys, I'm guessing, maybe half a squad. I think it was maybe a sniper rifle team. I immediately lose one guy there. Looking back at it, I think it was actually my own grenade went off or something like that from a back squad, or a rifle grenade fell short. So the first casualty was friendly fire, I think. Owed for things to come. And that's not a good sound to hear at the end of the turn. But luckily for me, it's actually my artillery coming in, that 5-minute delay. Just on that area I plan to occupy very, very soon. If there's any Germans hiding in there, hopefully they're nice and rattled and hopefully fleeing. Meanwhile, I'm not too sure if that's actually my mortars. Oh, it was. Yep. Okay then. So that's the first of the German mortars to come down. I'm afraid that mortar sound, you're going to get used to it very, very quickly. Most of the scenario now, from now to the end, will include that sound. I suspected from the beginning, well, that's a bit of a lie, from about 2 minutes into his Lieutenant Bull mortaring, that he was doing a harassing fire right across my front line there, maybe from a pre-planned bombardment. So he's got mortars that right from the start of the scenario as well. And he did confirm that after the battle had finished, so he just put a long line across the front, and you'll see that alone, where it makes all my plans come completely undone. Because every time a mortar hits, or hits anywhere close, what do your infantry do? They hit the dirt and cower. And that was the first sound I really was not looking forward to. That's a much heavier mortar, and it's not mine. I suspected soon into it was about 120mm mortars from the Germans, and that heavier sound was confirmed later on, yes it was. The reason I'm not liking it is 120mm has a far greater area of effect. It's just a lot of, awful lot of explosive and an range. So his harassing fire is not being helpful. Meanwhile, my first platoon here moves in. I suspected a few casualties, but I hoped overwhelming firepower would break me into this gap. It did. However, not for long. That mortar fire had at the beginning of the battle really just didn't actually break the Germans. They still had some force behind there, you'll see on the far left, and was able to actually pretty much decimate this platoon over the course of the next few minutes.
Roger, check fire.
Meanwhile, another whole platoon is coming up. This is where I make probably my own biggest mistake of this battle. Instead of ordering them straight into that this left little nook in near that reddish building, I order them all to actually wait on the side of the road before they all move in. So they're like, when the first man reaches, he sits and waits for the rest of his squad. And I did that for the whole platoon, and that was a mistake, because I didn't realise where they held was actually still visible to the enemy. I thought it was behind that little crest, but not enough. So you'll see in a minute a big tip for anyone playing combat mission, especially for the newbies. Don't do a mistake like I'm about to do. Check your elevations, get down to eye level and actually manually check it. It's probably it's the first really big disheartening thing I saw. Yep, so there you go. Really bunched them up there. That was a big mistake. I didn't expect them all to hit the same spot at the same time. Shouldn't have done that waypoint. Should have just gone straight as quick as possible into that area, off the street, stop taking casualties from the distant machine guns. Oh well, live and learn. And sure enough, the mortars start landing around it just for good measure. Meanwhile, the jeep with the general is fleeing. Or the Kuba wagon, I should say. And there's those harassing heavy mortar fire coming in again, this time adding the hurt for that pinned down platoon that's already pretty much decimated. I've got I spotted an AT gun at the back there. I'm thinking my little HQ is stuck on the side of the road there. You can see it. Ordered the strike with some of my mortars at the very least, so maybe I'll take that out, and that would open the way for the tanks, which would help immensely. That didn't work out as planned, as I didn't really notice, but I had lost somewhere in that mission order either the lieutenant, the actual officer, or the radio operator. I can't exactly remember. And as a result, you'll see some of the actual mortar fire falling on their position is actually mine. My guys off map are actually laying spotting rounds and end up the mission itself on my own platoon. So lesson of the day: don't lose your radio operators. And with that heavy mortars, and the mortars now concentrated, well, I think here they're now concentrating around my attempted failed breakthrough on the town itself. It's time to move up to the hedgerows to the left. They're not getting shot. I'm initially very, very happy. But as you'll see, the mortars themselves are actually set up. They're about to lay waste to the guys crossing the wheat field as well. So right on cue, I advance and straight into the heavy mortar fire. So, well. So, end up taking some fire from the Germans on the hedgerow. Immediately stops the troops dead in the wheat field. And you can sort of see there as well the mortar fire coming in. There's also some more shots on the left-hand side from a team I didn't notice initially. But you'll start to see the real power of those 120mm mortars. So unfortunately, I can't really order in my own mortar strikes right now without, because my officers who can actually call them in are not really in a good position to do so. They haven't really got lines of sight on anything. I mean, courtesy of a very, very dense terrain, defender-friendly map in my opinion, which is fair enough. So they're moving up, trying to get in a good spot, start seeing some real enemies so they can really know where to concentrate their fire. And then by the time they really do get to somewhere, a lot of the officers turn out to be dead. So it really limited the options and meant most of my off-map support really didn't come into play. You needed to get the infantry up first to actually make it effective, but as you can see, I'm really having no luck at all getting infantry up into position. It's also about now I sent an email or one of our chat logs to my opponent accusing him of cheating and accusing him of bringing in homing artillery. Those Germans must be working on something back in R&D. As you saw there, some of those shots landed right smack on to squads. So very, very well placed artillery. So, getting out of that field, you really want them on the hedges, but then more Germans who are unhidden and more artillery ends up taking its toll on the left flank as well. This is really a nice reminder of the changes made in the latest update to Combat Mission, the 2.01 update was it? How the MGs really got buffed up. Quite rightly so, I'm not knocking it, but yeah, maybe I had a bit of a time lapse, but it's either stay in the field and die or move. If I move, they're going to get shot, so really had to take the plunge, I think. So you can see the flashes of orange every time an artillery piece lands nearby. Don't underestimate 120mm mortars. So I've moved some of the stewards up, you'll see, getting ready to move up. I'm very cautious of those tanks. AT guns could be anywhere. Remember, I'm playing with this blind and I'm seeing all these hedgerows. There's no way tanks should be moving up anywhere unless you know what's on the other side of hedgerows. Bit of luck starting to go my way. This platoon actually does make it up to the hedgerows and starts laying on the superior firepower of the M1s and really pushes a few teams here. So I'm seeing Germans falling back along this left flank. I start to think, yes, this side's looking pretty secure, possibly. It's nowhere near the objectives, which is a bit disheartening. But I'm thinking I'm finally maybe making some progress. Saying that there's still a lot of flashes of orange amongst my troops. So just those harassing mortar fire is really holding my guys back. I think there was actually that little flash with the HQ. That's probably where I lost the radio operator or the commander. Can't remember actually. So we'll just back up here. Just see exactly how this collapse on the left actually occurred. So it looks like Lieutenant was possibly ordered them to retreat. He's outgunned there. And as soon as they're moving, they're visible. So same thing would have been happening to my troops at that previous minute in the field. So I'm seeing a lot of dead Germans on the left here. Fleeing Germans, we're starting to think it's alright to bring the tanks up. So, Stuarts on the left decide to move up. They're still a little bit behind a rise in the terrain in front on that field, but still not really spotting anything, and then more mortars come down. This is the problem I was fearing, sitting too much long in one hedgerow. Maybe I could have moved back, retreated, but I was sort of, even though I had a lot of time, I'm still worried about time in this enormous map. It's going to take a long time to clear that, and 2 hours would not be enough. And so now there's more harassing mortar fire just falling across my lines, and can't really move anything directly after a mortar round lands near it. Also over here on the right flank, well, it was really in the centre, but my right flank, I moved a squad over to have a bit of a peek in the field next door and got ambushed. That wasn't good. So the one good squad I had on the centre there just got hit. Good little ambush spot, I didn't really pick up on. It's probably about now I'm starting to think, here we go again. Really can't push forward. I'm just stalled all over the place with breaking morale. I've got about 2 platoons in reserve, 1 from each company, which really haven't been touched yet, but that's definitely not enough to clear a map of this density. So yeah, I'm starting to think about pushing the ceasefire button, I must admit. So even there, that's some distant fire from mortars and still took out soldier from one of those squads in the middle there. So yeah, don't underestimate that heavy mortars again. They have quite an effective range of area of effect. Another one of those big 120mm mortars. Instead of the damage it does with one round to German infantry. And to rub it in, I didn't spot, I think it was a Panzerstreck team that had remained behind. So another good ambush by my opponent. And it was pretty much all over at that point. There was really no point moving the tanks up without infantry support, and I just really didn't have enough infantry that was at reasonable strength, I don't think, to actually push into that real, even more densely populated area in the village. So it was at the end of this particular minute of action I said, yeah, I'm pushing the surrender button. Actually, I think did, and I haven't done that for a while. I don't think, actually, except for the previous amount of time on this map. So this map is caused 2 surrenders for me. Oh, not too proud. But yeah, as you see, but I'm not knocking the map. It's a gorgeous map, but it's definitely, I think it's a defender's paradise, as I said a few times already. So I was just playing the last minute of action here before the surrender kicks in. I think I actually lost the other tank to put some salt in. So thoughts on this scenario overall? I mean, the map itself is gorgeous, and if I remember, I'll put the link in the description. Have a look at the work Carlos has done in making the map authentic and how it really matches up some of the photos of the area. So the map is actually great. For the scenario itself, there's another AAR that shows the Americans having a bit more luck than I am, but the German player is playing very, very different tactics to what Lieutenant Bull did here. To Lieutenant Bull's credit, I think he did exactly the right thing. If he had artillery straight from the go. And that was to, there we go, total victory and to the Germans, and quite a few casualties to me. So, where was I? That's right. That artillery, especially the 120mm, but also the 81s, straight from the start, that's a pretty good thing to have for a defender, I think. I think if that came in quite a bit later in the scenario, especially one of this length, like at the arrow point or the hour and a half point, it was like a last desperate bit of extra firepower for the Germans. That would have been better. This map itself lends to ambushes, lends to actually sneaking through each of the fields. So I think more of a less reliance on arty on both sides would actually make it a really good battle, a really good infantry slog. But I already passed it on to Mac Holes, that feedback. Let's see what he does with scenarios. So if you're playing a version like this, or it's been altered, this is what it looked like at one point. This video will be released whenever Mac Holes gave the all clear and saying yes, he's happy with it, and he's going to release the scenario in the final form. So I hope you've enjoyed it, seeing me get the living snot beaten out of me. But no, once again, good game to my opponent, and also for the Fortress Italy mission we played before. Unfortunately, I don't do many of their multiplayer matches for YouTube. Simple fact, it just takes an awful long time to edit it down and make it workable. Then you've got to put the commentary over the top of it as well. So I'll try to do a few more, but as battles can't come my way. But at the moment, I'll probably be sticking more to the single player for the less pain after you've played the game. Anyway, thanks everyone, thanks for watching. Please check out the map, check out the scenario, have a crack at it yourself, and I'll see you all next time. Like, subscribe, leave comments. Thanks for watching, guys.